Howdy-ho, Andrew here. Welcome to the Onion Buns and welcome to the Let's Talk Oilers game recap. Oilers versus the Blue Jackets. November 10th, 2025. Game 17. This game was on Amazon Prime, not on Sportsnet. So all you people that may have missed the game, that's why it was on Amazon Prime. All right, so I got a long pre-show for you. I got a lot of thoughts going on heading into this game. First off, a little bit of housekeeping. Kapanen was moved to the long-term injury reserve. I'm assuming that's for cap space, but it also sounds like he's not going to be back for a bit. So RNH is out with a undisclosed injury. They're not saying what it is, but he sounds like he's going to be out at least a week. Janmark is reactivated and in the game. Lazar draws back in with Tomasek going to the press box. You kind of saw that one coming last game. You know, Tomasek really didn't do much of anything, so that's not a big surprise. And Skinner is in net. I am shocked Emberson or Stetcher not drawing in for Wallman after the way he's played the last two games. Absolutely stunned. Wallman has struggled since being split from Darnell Nurse as a partner, but he was back with Darnell this game, and he had his, I'll jump ahead, he had his most impactful game as an Edmonton Oiler tonight. Unfortunately, Regula is out, and I didn't hear anyone talking about why. So I'm hoping it's just maintenance or caution because he was coming back off of the concussion. So maybe he had a couple symptoms, and they said, okay, let's just sit him for this game, and we'll see, better safe than sorry, is what I'm hoping. So Emberson did draw in, but it was for Regula, not for Nurse. Not for Wallman. But as I said, I heard nothing about this. I didn't even know about this until the second period when it was obvious that Regula was out and Emberson was in. So yeah, anyway. While I haven't seen a lineup, I think it's safe to say that Leon and McDavid will be on their own lines tonight with no RNH. We have no second line center option. If Leon and McDavid are on there, we have no second line option unless we split McDavid and Leon up. You know, RNH is really that shoe in at the second line. So with him injured, kind of forces Knobloch to split him up. If I had to guess, I would predict the lines to be McDavid, Majapani, and ? Leon, Rosevich, and Podkolzin, Philip Henrique Fredericks, and Savoy Lazar Howard. That was my guess. Boy, was I wrong. So did Janmark replace RNH? Does Savoy? Does Howard? That's really the only question. Who's in the RNH spot on the top line? I can't see Knobloch going Philip, or I can't see him giving Philip an opportunity. And he doesn't like Frederick up there. So we'll see. Stopper has decided that it's all the defense's fault. And he's completely focused on Wallman for the last game loss and what's been plaguing the Oilers. He's bitching about Wallman's pinches, but not a word about Bouchard's pinches. Listen, Wallman has had two tough games since being separated from Nurse. Wallman and Kulak were not good together last game. They were horrible together. So if bad pinches are what you're talking about, focus on the absolute worst offender, Evan Bouchard. Wallman made a couple of poor pinches. Yeah, he did. There's no sugarcoating that. He did. But Bouchard is up to what, 20 or 30 of them this season? So, I mean, like, you got a couple or you got 20 or 30. Yet they're blaming the guy with the couple. And I'm not defending Wallman. Those were bad pinches and bad plays, and he deserved to get called out. But can we please start holding the right people to account? Can we? So what I wrote is stop trying to constantly cover for Bouchard, because that's what Stopper does all the time. But focusing on defense is also wrong. Look at the Avs game. Nurse and Regula are battling three Av players in our slot. To their credit, they moved all three Avs out of the slot. Unfortunately, a fourth Av came down, got the pass, and one-on-one with Pickard and scores. All three of our forwards were standing at the blue line waiting for Nurse and Regula to win the odd man battle and send the puck to them. You know, how many times are we going to win a 2-on-4? Because that's really what it was. Like, Nurse and Regula battled three Av players and they won. So huge props to Nurse and Regula. And then a fourth came in unopposed, got the puck, and scored. Well, our forwards sat at the blue line waiting for a pass. That's not on our defense. That's on our forwards. This is the biggest issue. We need our forwards to constantly back check and help out the defense. Without that happening, our defense will look much worse than they really are. Well, 6 of 8 of our defensemen, Bouchard and Stetcher, have been horrible this season defensively. But the whole framing what issues they want to talk about is a huge issue in the Edmonton hockey talk, because you see it online. Like, I spend a lot of time on social media and online, and you see it all over the places. Everyone's always talking about Nurse and Skinner. Well, Nurse has been our best defenseman this season, bar none. And, I know some people love to blame Skinner, but they're just parrots echoing what they hear from the media. Because the truth is, I said it in my last video, and I put out a short on this, is Stuart Skinner is paid to be a C-level goalie. He makes $2.6 million a year. That's a C-level goalie in the NHL. So if you expect him to play like a AAA goalie, you're deluding yourself. AAA goalies in this league make around the $10 million mark a season. We took the money, rather than upgrade our goalie, we took that money and we put it on our forwards and our defense. Well, namely Bouchard and our forwards. So, can we have some reasonable expectations for our goalies here? Our team is designed to outscore average goaltending and defensive lapses. And thus far this season, they haven't been doing that. And that's why we're losing. Skinner, he's paid as a C-level goalie. He's been playing like a B- goalie, a B goalie. He's not being an all-star goalie, but he's not terrible either. Same with Pickard. Pickard makes even less. I think he makes like 1.6 or 1 or something like that. And he's not been terrible, but he's not paid to be that number 1 AAA starter. So if you guys really expect our goalies to play like AAA starters, we got to pay them like AAA starters. Now, I'm not paying Stuart Skinner $10 million a year, but if you want a goalie that makes $10 million a year, you got to figure out where that money comes from. Because we got $5,000 under the cap right now. So where does that other $7.4 million a season come from? I don't hear any of the media that's complaining about Stuart Skinner, or any of the people online that are complaining about Stuart Skinner, addressing that simple financial issue. Where does the next $7.4 million come? Because you can't trade Skinner for a $10 million goalie. So, but the media framing what issues they have, they want you talking about a huge issue in Edmonton hockey talk. It really is. It's no different than CBC. It tells you what it wants you to think. It doesn't report the news anymore. It hasn't for years. Same with CTV, same with Global, same with Globe and Mail, same with Toronto Red Star. They just frame the topics to what they want you to think about, and then they leave everything else out. And that's what our sports media does in Edmonton, is they talk about what they want you talking about. And then a lot of people start talking about it, and then it's just parrots repeating it. Anyway, you almost never hear about Bouchard's terrible play while they try to make Savoy and Howard sound like all-stars. They will bitch endlessly, Lazar and Philip Tomasek not scoring yet. So let's look at the stats, because Howard has 3 points, is -2 in 15 games played. Savoy has 2 points and is -6 in 16 games played. Now, you will hear Stauffer say both of these guys need to be in our top 6 every day. No, they don't. They really don't. And we saw that again tonight. Bouchard, just for argument's sake, has 8 points and is -11 in 16 games played. All right? So those are the 3 untouchables according to our Edmonton media. Now let's look at Philip and Lazar. Philip has 3 points, so he actually has more points than Savoy, and is -4, so he's got a lower -4 in 10 games played. Now, the other thing you need to remember is Howard, Savoy, and Bouchard all get power play time. Granted, Howard gets it on the second unit, so he barely gets any time out there. Savoy, we've seen up on that first unit power play a few times, and Bouchard's always on the first unit power play. So our power play is is the top of the league right now. So Why aren't their points better? They're being given every opportunity, and their points aren't any better. So we have Philip at 3 points with a -4 in 10 games, and then we have Lazar with 1 point, and he's even in 4 games played. So let's compare. Savoy and Howard, who have gotten to play with McDavid and Leon and get power play time, combined they are 5 points, -8 in 31 games played. Philip and Lazar get no power play time at all, never get to play with Leon and McDavid. They have 4 points in 14 games played. So they've played less than half the games, and they're only 1 point behind Savoy and Howard. Yet you listen to the media, Savoy and Howard, they've made the team. Well, maybe not Howard. I've heard Stoffer and them say Howard probably should get sent down, but they've all said Savoy makes the team. Oh yeah, he's a superstar. Yeah, and I hate ragging on Savoy, I really do. But can we have a little bit of logic and common sense happening here on this and stop playing favorites? Philip and Howard get no power play minutes, never get to play. They never get to play with McDavid or Leon, and are honestly set up to fail by Knobloch. They play like 6 minutes a game, and when you're not playing that much, it's much harder to get in the rhythm of games. So when they come out, they're already behind the 8 ball because they're going against players whose legs are loose and flying while they're sitting on the bench. This is the problem in Edmonton. The media promotes their favorites and intentionally bury the players who are not their favorites. In my opinion, that is a huge part of the problem in the Edmonton market, because a lot of people just take what they say as biblical truth. It's much like politics, really. It really is. All right, so enough of that. Let's go to period 1. Oilers look strong in the first minute. Great rush by McDavid. Unfortunately, what I saw, and this lasted for the entire game, is McDavid was doing it individually. It was like he gave up trying to work with others, except for when Leon was with him, and he was doing it individually. And he's good enough to do it individually. But, I've been saying for a long time, Mangiapane has no chemistry with McDavid, and Savoy has no chemistry with McDavid. And it was Savoy they put up with McDavid, and there was nothing going on with that line. Any rush by McDavid, it was an individual effort, or him and Nurse. Him and Nurse teamed up a few times. But yeah, it didn't include the other guys. And that should be a message sent to Knobloch that enough is enough. You need to start trying other players. I've been saying for 5 games now, give Philip a try on the wing, because Philip doesn't have the skill of Matt Savoy. I'm not saying he does. Philip plays a grinder's game, and that's what McDavid needs on that wing, especially when RNH is healthy. That's how Zach Hyman plays, and it's such a beady match. RNH, McDavid, and Hyman. They're poetry in motion out there, because Zach will go into the hard place and he will dig those pucks out and he will grind and he will be a net front presence. Mangiapane is Zach light, so he can't fill that role. And Savoy is Yamamoto. He's a completely perimeter player, so he can't fill that role, which means you can't fill that role. And McDavid suffers. What I say, I called it Savoy up with McDavid and Mangiapane. I do not expect much from McDavid's line, as that's a very perimeter line with no physical presence. And I was 100% correct on that until it got changed. Frederick picks a fight with Olivier at 17:57. But talk about fighting above your weight class. Sadly, this was a very one-sided, with Fredericks eating 8 to 9 consecutive punches and then was leaking all over after the fight and had to go to the dressing room. Coincidental fighting majors at 17:57. Howard does get a nice shot from high in the slot. Not ideal. You'd like to see him closer, like get more into the dirty area, but at least he was touching the slot this time, and it was a nice shot. It was better than what we've seen recently from him. Then we're 4-on-4 Lazar, and a Blue Jackets player took a roughing penalty at 11:34. Then Oilers penalty, Bouchard slashing at 10:21. This was a lazy penalty by Evan Bouchard. And so that made it a 4-on-3 for the Blue Jackets. Columbus goal, 8-18. It wasn't a power play goal, but scored a second after Bouchard stepped back on the ice. Wallman does his best Bouchard impersonation and makes himself as small as possible to not get hit by the puck. And that drives me absolutely insane, especially on a penalty kill. We need our defensemen in this situation to block shots, not do the Bouchard thing and, get as tiny and thin as possible. So yeah, he did that as possible as shot comes from blue line, goes by him and eludes a screen Skinner. Nurse was battling with Nurse had the Blue Jacket player all tied up. There was no redirection. There was nothing. Unfortunately, he was still trying to push him out of the slot when the shot came. So Skinner was completely screened and the puck came low and just went right by. Honestly, Wallman needed to stop this puck. And it wasn't a hard shot. So, he wasn't worried about injury. So I don't know what Wallman was thinking on that play. But hey, he did redeem himself. Oh, 1-0 Blue Jackets. This is when I noticed. I have not heard it announced, but I think Emberson is in for Regula. Hope it's not an injury and just precaution or maintenance. They never did tell us in the game. Leon, Podkolzin, and Rosevich have been our best line so far. Nurse and Majapani team up for a good scoring chance, but Maj needs to raise the puck on shots. Nurse set him up beautifully, and then Maj shot at ice level. What have I been saying? If you want to score in the NHL nowadays, you got to raise the puck. Savoy uses his quickness, and he's got quickness. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. He's a fast little bugger to steal the puck, but gets muscled off before he can get a clean shot. So for what I'm noticing is McDavid's line is completely dependent on individual efforts rather than line unity or chemistry. It's like, Majapani and Nurse team up. McDavid did a number of rushes by himself. Savoy, he went and forechecked. He stole the puck and then he got knocked off because he's very tiny and soft. But it was all individual. There was no passing or team play. It was all, you had three individuals playing on the top line is what you had. Then we got an Oilers goal at 2:32. Wallman from Podkolzin and Rosevich. Podkolzin battles and wins a corner battle. Sends puck to Wallman, who does a seeing eye high shot from the blue line. Rosevich swings at it, but misses. But I think his swing at it distracted the goalie. And the puck just sort of flickers past the goalie, just under the crossbar. 1-1. So then we get an amazing save by Skinner in the final minute of the first period. End of the first, shots on goal were 7-4 for the Oilers, and the score is 1-1. It's clear the team was told this non-physical play is not acceptable. You saw Frederic, Lazar, Nurse, Podkolzin, Phillip, and Wallman all get involved physically. Pronger is doing what Edmonton media refuses to do during the intermission. He was flat out calling out Bouchard on his play this season and his lazy slashing penalty that put us down 1-0. I love Prongs. There's no double talk from him. He tells you what he thinks. Second period. Blue Jackets goal at 18:21. Blue Jackets come down on a 3-on-2. Nurse and Wallman play it well. Skinner makes the save, but Majapani doesn't cover the trailer, who picks up the rebound and scores 2-1 for the Jackets. Just another case of our forwards not coming back again. And yeah, it's like, what can you say? We saw this last game, we saw this the game before, and now we just saw it this game. Oilers hemmed in zone for a minute and a half. Howard has all day to clear the puck. There was nobody around him, but decides to ice the puck. All he had to do was flip it. Not hard, but he shot it right down to the other end icing. So nobody could change. He's on the third line this game. Like I said, I was wrong in my line predictions. So Howard was up on the third line. Howard and Savoy were on the third line. Savoy was on the first line. Howard was on the third line. And so they dropped the puck and they were hemmed in their own zone for another minute until Skinner said enough of this and covered the puck. Next shift, Phillips' line comes out and the play immediately moves to the Jackets zone. So this was about the third line. This wasn't about the team. This wasn't about Phillips or anything. The third line was not good all game. McDavid's line puts on a cycling clinic for a full minute, but gets 0 shots on net because it's a perimeter cycle with no net front presence. This is what I was talking about. You had Majapani, you had Savoy, you had McDavid, And I think you had Nurse out there on defense with Wallman, but they went around and around, but there was nobody in the guts. So there was no shot to be made. I knew I wouldn't like this line, and they are fulfilling what I feared. You have 3 skilled players, but no chemistry or drive. No, simply what it was. First Oilers shot of the second period came at 11:20. Nurse is playing a ton tonight as clearly the number 1 defenseman, and I later found out part of the reason for that is Knobloch did what we all thought he would never do. After Bouchard took that slashing penalty and then we were scored on just as he was stepping out of the box, Knobloch benched him for 8+ minutes for the remainder of the first period. Just sat him on the bench and didn't let him play. So I think that's the first time this season Bouchard's been benched in a game. Or maybe not. Maybe he's been benched for 1 shift here and there, but those don't really count. This was a full 8+ minutes that he got benched. McDavid, Leon, and Rosevich are now together. Guess Nobby noticed the lack of chemistry McDavid has with Majapani and Savoy. Jackets penalty at 5:54 for holding. Oilers power play. Oh my God. Rosevich hits the post on a one-timer from the slot from McDavid. It was a gorgeous chance, and if it was just like a millimeter lower, it's in the net. It was a beautiful play. The more I watch Rosevich, the more I'm thrilled he's an Oiler. I don't know how much we're going to have to pay him next year, but he's one of the bright spots of this team. And he goes into the hard spots. He gets into the hard spot. And this is what I keep talking about Howard and Savoy, is they won't go into those spots. Now, once in a while, they might drift in there, but for the most part, they try to be perimeter players. And okay, they may have been stars in juniors, and they may have been stars in university league, but they're not all stars in the NHL. And I don't think they ever will be. I've best heard them described as middle 6 forwards. So that means second or third line players for their career is what's expected of them. So they need to pick up these habits already. We're 17 games into the season. Pick up the habits of getting into those hard spots to score. So I just noticed something, and it speaks volumes on Bouchard's problems. Bouchard does a wrist shot from the top of the key. Like he got the puck and he deked around the player and got to the top of the key and he took a wrist shot. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that play. Nothing. It's what happened after it. He took the wrist shot and then he did this wide loop and he stopped and he looked to admire his pass or shot. Well, the problem is the shot got blocked and was sent to the blue line, where now we had a Columbus Blue Jacket skating unopposed down the ice. Bouchard needs to stop admiring his own work and doing the lackadaisical big loop. He should have shot and done a quick turn and gone back to the blue line into position. And this is the problem with Evan Bouchard. It's too lackadaisical. So he did bust his ass to try to catch the guy, but Skinner bailed him out with a great stop. But it was avoidable if he had just done his shot and got back to the blue line. Don't admire your shot. Don't admire your pass. Make the play and get back in position. Jackets score with 1:58 left in the second period. Emberson fumbles the puck behind the net and turns it over. Jackets send the puck to the blue line. They pass it to the key, pass to the slot, tap in, goal. 3-1 for the Blue Jackets. Turnovers. All game. All year. They've been killing us. That's the end of the second. Shots on goal were 16-12 for the Blue Jackets. So we got massively outplayed in the second period. Massive. We got 5 shots on net, and the Blue Jackets got 12. And it's 3-1 for the Blue Jackets. Third period. Oh my God, what a goal. McDavid, he's on the highlight reels. McDavid goal, 19:02, so 58 seconds into the third. McDavid takes the puck at our blue line, enters the Jacket zone, does a spinorama, thank you, Booker T, that causes the Jacket defenseman to fall over. He tripped over his own feet. McDavid goes around and roofs a backhand to the top left corner. 3-2 Jackets. This goal will be all over the Plays of the Year replays for the rest of the year. Jackets then take a penalty at 17:20. A discussion is going on, so waiting on the call. Turns out it was coincidental minors The Jackets got nailed for interference, but McDavid got nailed for holding the stick. I didn't like this call on McDavid because we've seen players all year and for previous years, like when an opponent sticks their stick into you, you tuck it under your arm and you hold it. And we've seen this millions of times without only the guy that stuck his stick in getting the penalty. But for some reason, this time they decided McDavid was to be given a minor as well. So I'm not denying he held the stick. I'm just saying they never call it. We see this time and time and time again. So why are they deciding to call it now? 4-on-4. Majapani does a horrible, soft, lazy pass that is turned over in our zone. 2 fast passes later, and Blue Jackets goal, 15-41. 4-2 Blue Jackets. There is absolutely no excuse for Majapani making that play. And that's twice now this game he's done stupid crap like this. So, notice Philip is up with Leon, and together they get a really great chance, but Philip overpasses rather than shooting. Was it nerves? Maybe. Noah's not gotten any chances in the top 6 this season, so I can see him overthinking it. Still, was a nice play to create a chance. Hopefully Philip can learn from it. About time we see him in the mix, even if it's only for one shift. Like you've heard me before, I think he should be up there in the Majapani spot on McDavid's line. I think he should really get a chance at that. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. But what I do know is Savoy and Majapani do not work with McDavid. So let's stop giving the same people the same chances over and over and over, and let's start trying something new. Oilers goal at 6:21. McDavid receives a pass from Bouchard at the blue line. McDavid puts the afterburners on, goes wide, cuts to the net, and scores. It was typical McDavid, super speed. He just came down and he just went around everyone and he cut hard into front of the net and went to the far post and tucked it in. 4-3 for the Jackets. Howard turns over the puck at our blue line, but Skinner bails him out. Another turnover. These turnovers are killing us, especially the defensive zone turnovers. Offensive zone turnovers are bad enough, but these defensive zone turnovers are absolutely killing us. Oilers take a penalty at 2:18. Rosevich for high sticking. It was an offensive zone penalty along the boards. I really don't know how it happened. I think he tried to lift a stick in just one of those plays. So anyway, that was at 2:18. So what I wrote is game comes down to needing a shorty, because we got 2 minutes and 18 seconds left in the game, and we're serving a 2-minute penalty. 57.2 seconds. Oilers goal shorthanded. McDavid grabs the puck behind the Jackets goal, passes up the boards to Wallman, who drives at the net, shoots. The puck bounces off a Jet defender and kind of flickers like this over the goalie and in the net. 4-4. End of the third. Shots on goal were 22-18 Oilers. Overtime. Well, no, overtime only lasted 56 seconds. Oilers goal at 4:04. Huge save by Skinner. Wallman picks up the rebound, passes to Rosevich, who catches the Jackets changing. Breakaway for Rosevich. Rosevich scores from Wallman and Skinner. Oilers win 5-4. Shots on goal 23-19 for the Oilers. Listen, we needed this win, and it was in question until the best player in the world said enough is enough and literally took over the game in the third period. So let's get to it. 3 stars. Number 1, McDavid, 2 goals. Number 2, Rosevich, game-winning goal, and hell of a game. Number 3, Wallman, 2 goals and an assist. 3 slugs. Number 1, Howard. Number 2, Savoy. Number 3, Majapani. McDavid absolutely took over the game. Rosevich continues to be a big moment player this season for us. And Wallman, well, the old saying is you got to be lucky to be good, and Wallman got lucky today. As for the slugs, Howard was not good tonight and looked outmatched in a more physical game. He looked like a university player tonight. He did not look like an NHL player. He didn't even look like an AHL player. They need to send this kid to the AHL for maturing and polish. Savoy, he was a pure perimeter player, easily knocked off puck. The skill is obvious. Any other team, he might land in the top 6 for that team. But he doesn't but he doesn't have the attributes required to play in our top 6. And he lacks the size, grit, and physicality to play in the bottom 6. I know Stockper has a man crush on this kid, but he loved Yamamoto as well, and that's who Savoy reminds me of, is Yamamoto. As for Majapani, brutal lazy turnover in our zone. That should have buried us, if we're being honest here. Plus, I keep saying it, him and McDavid have no chemistry together, and that's on the coaches. But at the same point, he's got to do something to create some chemistry. He's a veteran, and he hasn't. He just keeps playing his game, and his game doesn't mesh with McDavid's game. So we need to move him off that top line. Again, I'm not hating on Majapani. Like, the turnovers were not good, so that's why he's a slug, is those 2 big turnovers. But he's got no chemistry on that top line. I think he needs to be moved to the third line, because the second line of Leon, Rosovich, and Podkolzin is gold. So that doesn't need to change. So that means he needs to go to the third line. And maybe he can help the third line, but he's doing nothing on the top line with McDavid. We got very lucky today, but I'll take it. What I noticed is we came out gangbusters physically in the first, then it stopped. And we need that physicality all the time, not just for one period. Plus, the 60-minute effort still eludes us. Way too many turnovers, not enough team buy-in, but I'll take the 2 points. Next game, Wednesday versus Philly at 5:30 Mountain on Sportsnet. And that's the recap. If you like this video, leave a like, a subscribe, and a share. I'm trying to grow my channel, and a like, a subscribe, and a share does me wonders, and I do appreciate it. Takes 1 second to subscribe, costs you absolutely nothing, helps me immensely. Just hit the subscribe button on the bottom of the screen. Always feel free to leave a comment. I encourage everybody to leave a comment. Not only does it get us interacting, but it really does help me with the YouTube algorithm and getting more eyes on my videos. And as always, pew, 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 and shit. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.